Hey, guess what? Guess what happens in a month? I'll give you one hint. It starts with W and it ends with Worldwide Developers Conference 2022. Did you get it? Yay! Good job, you guys, you got it! WWDC is in exactly 1 month, and today we are going to be talking about absolutely everything that we should expect. So, without any further ado, let's do it. Press the subscribe button. Let's go. That was a really good intro. I'm really happy with how that came out. All right, so we're a month away now from WWDC 2022, but honestly, you wouldn't know it from looking around at the news landscape. It's been pretty quiet, not a whole lot of stuff going on, and you're probably thinking, beans, that must mean nothing's gonna happen. Well, not necessarily, but maybe, but not necessarily. So the thing that you gotta understand about WWDC is that it is first and foremost a software event. And that is key because it means that Apple can keep things a lot closer to their chest. There's no iOS 16 factory. That's not how it works. So because Apple doesn't have to manufacture their software, it's a lot easier for that to stay secret. So given that particular caveat, let's start this video by talking about the software. We'll just get the boring stuff right out of the way. And first up is watchOS 8. There is no news about watchOS 8. Now, iOS 16, the pickings are slim, but we have heard a couple of things, such as a revamp to notifications. We've also heard this one, you're gonna love this one, folks. A new Apple Music Classical has been spotted in some code. So I guess it's like Apple Music, but the app is in the shape of a violin. I don't know why you would need Apple Music Classical. To me, that sounds like it could just be a station, but apparently that's a thing. Another thing that we've heard is that apparently Apple's working on big widgets, and so these would be like widgets, only bigger. Apart from that, we could speculate on compatibility. I think if you do have an iPhone 6S, probably start counting your days because this thing's not gonna stay supported, almost certainly. I would expect the iPhone 7 to stick around because it has a newer, more modern A10 Fusion chip, which is actually where Apple started using the big little core architecture, so it makes it pretty significantly more modern. And that basically sums up our iOS 16 news. So let's move on to macOS. Sorry, what's that? There's been no news on macOS. Nothing. Not even one thing. Here we do actually have a couple of little tidbits. Now, the impression of iPadOS in recent years has been essentially that the iPad is really, really good, but iPadOS is just holding it back. It's a limited feature set and it doesn't let you do as much as the machines are obviously capable of doing, especially now that the iPad Air and both iPad Pros have the M1 chip. It can clearly run macOS because that exact same chip is in an iMac, so just give it some more features. Unfortunately, a new patent suggests that an iPad keyboard accessory could trigger a macOS-like UI. This is a really fantastic idea, and I really hope it comes out this year because, quite frankly, Apple is going to start losing people with the iPad here if they can't make new iPad hardware that compels people to upgrade and new iPad software that compels people to use it. That's kind of the end of the road in terms of major headlines for Apple's software. And this is a software event. So what else is there? Well, last year WWDC was just software. That was it. It was dub. They were like, here's some OS and now we're done, we're out. But it isn't always like that. And this year, the thing that's on everybody's mind is the Mac Pro. Even if you're not planning on getting one, the Mac Pro is a really, really intriguing product because it's going to be Apple's flagship. It's going to show whether Apple Silicon can truly scale and be on this insanely powerful platform and compete with the best of the best. So, what exactly do we know? Well, it's not a secret that the Mac Pro is in development. Apple literally told us that just 2 months ago.
With just one more product to go, Mac Pro. But that is for another day.
And beyond that, it's obvious that Apple has been working on an Apple Silicon Mac Pro this entire time. The MacBooks that came out back in October, some of the press images that they put on their business portal were rendered in March of 2021. So they were working on those things for a long time. Typically, the way the Apple news cycle works is you hear more and more about a product, more and more overlapping leaks even, right up until its launch. So by the time it comes to be late August, iPhone rumors are at a fever's pitch and we're all hearing the same thing over and over again. But that doesn't necessarily have to be the case here because of the way Apple does its WWDC hardware announcements. Let me show you what I mean. This is how Apple ended their teaser of the 2019 Mac Pro reveal.
And it's going to be available this fall.
And this is what they said in 2017 about the iMac Pro.
And it's going to be available in December.
And this is what they said in 2013 about the Trashcan Mac Pro.
It is coming later this year. Did say this is a sneak peek.
Do you see a pattern here? If a Mac Pro does get announced at WWDC, I think there is a near 100% chance that it will not get launched, that you won't be able to purchase it at WWDC. And just like with software, that makes things a lot easier for Apple to keep under wraps because it's not actually in a factory getting produced. Most of the leaks that we've seen for stuff like the MacBook Pro, the M2 chip, as well as the iPhones, those come from schematics and, more importantly, from production validating testing devices. So the PVT stage is the very last when you're developing a product. It's essentially a test run to see if production scales, if the yields are good, if there's any quality control issues or bottlenecks. And that's how we're able to get such clear looks at the iPhone, because Apple is usually preparing to make millions of them, tens of millions of them for opening weekend, which means they have to start working on all of that stuff way in advance, and there's a lot of people that can come into contact with those prototypes. But with something that's low volume, like the Mac Pro, and not coming out until December, it's a lot easier to keep that a secret. So while there have been some background murmurs, some suggestions and some hints about the Mac Pro, there's not a lot that we've heard that is credible, reliable, concrete information. But hopefully that will all change very soon, because I think logically this WWDC makes the most sense for Apple to announce the Mac Pro. I mean, you have to imagine that their 2-year transition, which started in November of 2020 and therefore would conclude at the end of this year, they probably don't want to miss that. So this time frame makes the most sense. Now, there have also been a couple of little tidbits of people suggesting, hey, maybe this could be an M2 event. Now, I don't think that particular eventuality is very likely, and mainly that boils down to what WWDC is and what the M2 is. Because WWDC is for the diehards, the developers, the people like you or I who are super invested in getting a sneak peek at the next version of macOS and iOS, getting sneak peeks at the next versions of the Pro products. It is the enthusiast event. And the M2 lineup is going to go in, iPads, MacBook Airs, the colorful 24-inch iMac. Those are much more mass market consumer devices, so it's kind of a weird mismatch. And then there's the matter of Apple's timing. There's a reason the iPhone comes out in September and why the M1 and the M1 Pro all launched at the end of the year. It's because of the holiday shopping season. That's when people are out there buying these things. So it doesn't make as much sense to launch those products, especially ones that are geared towards the broadest possible market, in June. So for that reason, I think it's pretty unlikely that M2 products are going to come out at WWDC, and I think if we are going to get any sort of hardware announcement, it would be the Mac Pro. And honestly, I'm super excited. And of course, as I did in March, if I have any leaky boys, I will be sharing them with you guys. So make sure to get subscribed, turn on notifications. The next month is going to be pretty interesting. And with that, I will see you all in the next video.